You've been lied to, not once, not twice, but for decades, by the food industry, by public health officials, and yes, even by your own doctor. Today, I'm exposing the 7 biggest health and nutrition myths that are keeping you sick, and I'm going to reveal what actually works to help you burn fat, skyrocket energy, and stay young. Let's start with the most dangerous lie of them all. Myth number 1, the sun is dangerous and causes cancer. We've been taught to fear the sun. We lather on SPF 50. We avoid direct sunlight because we've been convinced that the sun equals skin cancer. But here's the truth. Sunlight in itself is one of the most healing, free medicines available to us. Sunlight triggers vitamin D production, which is a hormone, technically not even a vitamin, that regulates, get this, over 3,000 genes related to immune function, inflammation, and yes, fat metabolism. Low vitamin D levels are now linked to higher risk of cancer, obesity, autoimmune disease, depression, and metabolic dysfunction. And study after study shows this. I mean, are you testing your vitamin D levels? Because if you are, the report that comes back is between 30 and 90 typically. And if it comes back as 33, 44, 38, it's not being flagged by your doctor as being in a vitamin D deficiency. But I gotta tell you, if your vitamin D levels are below 60, you are vitamin D deficient. And research has shown that when you have low vitamin D, you will increase the chances of the following happening to you: obesity and insulin resistance, autoimmune diseases including MS and lupus, depression and seasonal affective disorder, cognitive decline in Alzheimer's, and several types of cancer including colon, breast, and prostate. And you might think, all right, I should still avoid the sun, but I'll just take a whole bunch of vitamin D supplementation. But that is not as effective as getting quality sunshine. And what's super ironic is that vitamin D deficiency is actually a stronger predictor of cancer than moderate sun exposure. Yet, you've been lied to by dermatology groups who are funded by sunscreen companies who push the avoid the sun narrative, which is a whole bunch of BS. The sunscreen industry is a $10 billion per year industry, which is designed to make you afraid of the sunlight. Meanwhile, vitamin D deficiency has skyrocketed globally, especially in countries that avoid the sun. What does the science actually show? Well, a 20-year Swedish study found that women who avoided the sun had a mortality rate twice as high as those with regular sun exposure. Several studies report that low vitamin D levels because of lack of sunshine are linked to more severe COVID-19 outcomes, higher risk of metabolic syndrome, increased systemic inflammation, and poor blood sugar regulation. Sunlight does more than just vitamin D. Morning sunlight, especially without sunglasses, resets your entire circadian rhythm. It boosts melatonin production at night for better sleep. And melatonin, by the way, is not just for sleep. It's one of the most important, probably the most powerful antioxidant for your mitochondria. You see, the near-infrared rays you get from the sunshine promote mitochondrial health through a process called photobiomodulation, helping your cells produce more energy via ATP. So the goal is to get sunshine, but don't get burned. I can tell you this, if you eliminate seed oils, eliminate fish oil supplementation, and eat a clean diet that's focused on meat, protein, whole food, it's pretty difficult to get burned from the sun. If you find that you're getting burned from the sun very easily, it's because number 1, you have to adapt to the sun and slowly build up tolerance to it. And number 2, you're probably consuming seed oils and fish oil. Once you remove that, it's very difficult to burn. I could give you an analogy. I used to burn so easily from the sun when I was consuming seed oils and taking high-dose fish oil. Now I could be in the sun for 3-4 hours. Heck, on Sunday, I live in Miami, and on Sundays, I play basketball with my friends outside in Miami Beach for 2 to 3 hours, and I do it during the summer. I don't burn. And by the way, if you play basketball and live in Miami and you want to play with me, let me know in the comment section of the YouTube video. So get sun, just don't get burned. There's something you can do that also is a supplement that prevents you from getting burned. So instead of taking sunscreen, which I don't recommend, you could take edible sunscreen. This is a nutrient proven through research and through anecdotal evidence of myself and clients that when you take about 6 to 10 milligrams of it in the form of a supplement, it prevents you from getting burned. It's called astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is an antioxidant that's found in like wild-caught salmon. But if you just take the supplement form of it with an olive oil or coconut oil base, and I'll drop a link for the one I use in the notes down below, on the days right before you go out into the sun, it will prevent you from getting burned. So I recommend getting 30 to 60 minutes of sunshine every day. Best time is in the morning. Best time is right before the sunset. And if you can get it during the day, even on an overcast day, you're going to benefit. And do not use sunscreen. If you're going to use a sunscreen and want a healthy option, use the one from OneSkin. They have the best sunscreen. It's non-toxic. It has actually minerals in it and prevents you from getting burned. And I'll drop a link for the OneSkin sunscreen with a 15% coupon code, which you could get over at oneskin.co/freedom. And I'll drop that link down below. That's oneskin.co/freedom, which I'll drop down below. Bottom line with the first thing here, don't fear the sun. The sun is the source. The sun is your friend. Get sun and raise your vitamin D levels. Let's go to myth number 2. Red meat causes cancer. Look, red meat has been demonized since the 1980s, but the science doesn't support the fear. The World Health Organization's red meat causes cancer claim was based on observational studies filled with confounding factors. Let me ask you this. If someone eats a fast food burger with a bun, fries, soda, no exercise, poor sleep, and stress, is it really the meat in that burger that was the problem? Well, the answer is, of course not. That's silly. Well, grass-fed meat in particular is low. It's the most nutrient-dense foods you could ever eat. There's not one vegetable, not kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, spinach, not one vegetable on this planet that compares to the amount of nutrients you find in red meat, especially grass-fed red meat. Here's what you're going to find in red meat. Heme iron, which is the bioavailable form of iron, versus the non-heme iron you find in vegetables that are not available. Zinc, vitamin B12, carnosine, creatine, and conjugated linoleic acid, which helps with fat loss. All of these nutrients are critical for energy, fat metabolism, and brain function. So you don't need to eat less meat. You need to eat more red meat. I would say 80% of my entire diet is red meat, and I'm just thriving, and I share my blood work with you all the time, and you can see my blood work looks phenomenal. Yours will too when you consume more red meat. Myth number 3, snacking and grazing boosts your metabolism, helps you burn fat. Look, this tip that you probably got from a personal trainer, a dietitian, or a fitness coach, or a TikTok guru is one of the worst things you can do for your health. Eating every 2 to 3 hours is the fastest way to age yourself, create leaky gut, and weight loss resistance. Every time you eat, you raise glucose and insulin. When insulin is spiked, you store fat. You don't burn it. Even if it's the healthiest snack in the world, you're going to store fat. The truth is, having an eating window and a fasting window is the best thing you could do for fat loss. Have 2 to 3 meals within an 8-hour window, and then fast outside of that window. Or if you don't want to fast, just have your 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, let's say 8 a.m., noon, and let's say 8 p.m., no snacking in between. Every time you snack, you spike glucose and insulin. You disrupt your gut microbiome. It takes a lot of energy to process that food, and you signal to your metabolism, store fat. So this is nonsense when we think about the advice out there to snack and graze. There's not any research out there that shows it boosts your metabolism. And as a matter of fact, as I make the point in Metabolic Freedom, my latest book, you don't even want to boost your metabolism. The metabolism doesn't even work in speed. It's either efficient or inefficient. And when you're constantly snacking and grazing, you have an inefficient metabolism that is burning sugar, and it's aging you faster because you're reaching something called the Hayflick limit much faster, which means the Hayflick limit is the amount of times your cells could duplicate until it could no longer duplicate. At this time, you damage your DNA and it creates a senescent zombie cell. And you reach this limit every time you snack. It duplicates cells, not good for your health, not good for longevity, and for sure, it's not good for fat loss. Myth number 4, eat less, move more. It's the best way to burn fat. The only way to burn fat is to be in a calorie deficit. This is some of the most redundant, ridiculous, outdated advice you could ever come across. Yeah, calories matter, but they're not important. Hormones, inflammation, that's important, my friend. The eat less, move more model ignores insulin, it ignores hormones, it ignores inflammation. You see, the human body, the metabolism, does not operate this way. If you're overweight right now, guess what? You don't have a weight problem. I used to be obese, 80 pounds overweight. I never had a weight problem. Nobody in the history of humankind has ever had a weight problem. It is a weight symptom. When you focus on just cutting calories, you're treating the symptom. You don't lose weight to get healthy. You get healthy to lose weight. That's why the premise is flawed, because they're teaching you to lose weight to get healthy. That is not how your metabolism works. And over time, you destroy and wreck the metabolism because you could only cut your calories so much until your metabolism adapts to the energy coming in. And at this point, you've dramatically destroyed and disrupted your metabolism. There is a better way. You could actually eat more calories and actually burn more fat by focusing on quality over quantity, getting high quality protein, the red meat we spoke about, stopping the snacking and the grazing, practicing intermittent fasting. Your body and metabolism is not a math equation. It's not a calculator. It is not a bank account. Your metabolism is a very complex chemistry lab. So stop focusing on calories, start focusing on hormones. Myth number 5, carbohydrates are essential for energy production. They're the number one nutrient or the number one energy source for your body, for your brain. Carbohydrates are optional. Glucose is essential. There's a big difference here. When we look at all medical textbooks, I don't know if you knew this, but there's no such thing as essential carbohydrates. Did you know that? There are essential fats, they're called essential fatty acids. There are essential proteins called essential amino acids, meaning your body cannot make essential fats, your body cannot make essential proteins. You need to consume that through diet or supplementation. But with carbohydrates, there's no such thing, meaning you don't need carbohydrates to survive. You need glucose, but you don't have to eat the carbohydrates to get the glucose. Your metabolism and human body is so sophisticated and so smart. You could take protein, you could take cortisol, you could take fat and turn that into glucose for the body. Your body's very smart. When glucose is low, you start producing ketones, which is anti-inflammatory, fat burning, anti-aging, great for brain fog, great for the brain in general. We've become carb-dependent zombies. We don't need the carbohydrates. Now, does that mean we should avoid carbs altogether and avoid it forever? No, that's not what I'm saying, but the personal trainer or dietitian telling you that carbohydrates are the number one source of energy for your body, your metabolism, and your brain, ask them the question, hey, is there anything in the literature or anything in the medical textbooks that show that carbohydrates are essential? And they're going to look at you dumbfounded because there's not one thing that shows that. Your body needs glucose, but you don't need carbs to make the glucose. I hope that makes sense. Myth number 6, eating fat makes you fat. You know, fat has a bad PR person because we hear the word dietary fat and it kind of makes sense. When we eat fat, it'll make us fat, but it's not fat that makes us fat. It's insulin. And when we just look at the 3 macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. I'm going to show a chart here for those watching on YouTube, and I put this chart in chapter 1 of Metabolic Freedom. It is carbohydrates that will spike your blood insulin levels way more than protein. You can see protein is moderate, and fat barely even moves the needle on insulin, which means when you actually eat fat, you burn fat because there's not going to be an insulin spike. It's when you introduce the protein and especially the carbs that you get the insulin spike. So eating eggs with the yolk, avocados, butter, ghee, olive oil, coconut oil, these all lower inflammation, lower insulin, help you burn fat. So if you want to burn fat, eat more protein and fat, lower your carbs. That is the fastest way to tap into stored body fat, especially the fat around your belly. This brings us to myth number 7. Your genes determine your health fate. Look, your genes are not your destiny. You might have heard this statement before. Genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. This is one of the most disempowering beliefs that we have in our society. I remember a couple years ago, there was a representative from the United States government on the TV show 60 Minutes, and they were talking, the whole segment was about obesity and Ozempic. The lady who represented the public health in the United States at that time said, if you're obese right now, it's not your fault. There's nothing you can do about it. It's the genes you were dealt. It's just bad luck. But hey, we have Ozempic. We have these medications that could help. It's such a victim mentality. And I'm not just referring to obesity. Like if you have cancer that runs in your family, diabetes, autoimmune disease, or even obesity, it's true. You have those genes. You cannot change the genes you were born with. Those were the cards you were dealt. That's the bad news. The good news is that you have control over the expression of those genes. One of the most empowering things I've ever learned in my life was this. The lifestyle decisions you make determine whether you turn on genes or turn off genes. That is one of the most profound statements, that you have the ability, I have the ability, we have the ability to turn off genes, bad genes and good genes. And I would argue that 95% minimally of your genes are going to be expressed through your lifestyle decisions. Meaning, less than 5% of all disease out there, including different things like obesity and diabetes, less than 5% are strictly genetics. That should empower you and inspire you because it's all the things you eat, you think, your movement, your lifestyle that will turn on genes and turn off genes. You are not your genes. You are the CEO of your health, and you have more power than you've ever been told. With that being said, I'm going to get to some of your commonly asked questions here. I want to encourage you to go get Metabolic Freedom, my latest book. There's a 30-day plan to help you lose 20 pounds in 30 days. The book is available on hardcover, Kindle, Audible, Spotify. I narrated the audibles myself, and you'll get an entire course on the metabolism for free when you go to metabolicfreedombook.com today or scan the QR code on the screen or go to the notes of this podcast episode or YouTube notes down below. Let's get to your questions. How can I improve my insulin sensitivity naturally? Everything I shared here, eating more red meat, eating more protein and fat, less carbs will help. Getting quality sleep really helps with that. That's chapter 6 of Metabolic Freedom. Building lean muscle mass. So strength training, eating high quality protein, eating enough protein, 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight, and strength training, quality sleep. All of this makes you more insulin sensitive. So make sure you are following these tips, and the 30-day plan in Metabolic Freedom gives you the whole outline, by the way. What's the difference between healthy fats and unhealthy fats? Great question. So not all fats are created equal. We want to consume saturated fats and monounsaturated fats. So I'll give you an entire list of healthy fats to consume. We have coconut oil, butter, ghee, beef tallow, olive oil, duck fat, and avocado oil. Any of those fats are healthy. Those are going to be more for cooking, salad dressings, and dips. If we're thinking about meat sources of fat, that's going to be eggs, that's going to be avocados, which is a fruit technically. That's going to be red meat, including beef and lamb, wild-caught small fatty fish like salmon, and even organ meats are also great and healthy for you. Bad fats are going to be the vegetable oils and seed oils. You want to avoid canola, corn, cottonseed, sunflower, soybean, safflower, rice bran, and grapeseed oil. You also want to avoid fish oil, which is inflammatory. There you have it. We just busted those 7 myths. Hey, share this with somebody you know. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you're listening on the podcast, please leave the show a rating and review, and I'll see you next time. Oh, hey, if you love this lesson, I just published a recent video because I just mentioned that strength training and exercise is one of the best ways to become more insulin sensitive, burn fat, and extend your lifespan. Well, there's the number one exercise that you could perform each week that targets belly fat, and I just published a video outlining this exercise. Check out the clip from that lesson, then click the video on the screen, and I'll see you in that next lesson. The best part about what I'm going to share with you today, it does not require willpower. You don't have to count calories, and as a matter of fact, one of the worst ways to lose weight and belly fat is to focus on calories. It's the biggest mistake people make. Focusing on calories is a huge mistake. For example, you could